people make life so complicated.
It was a typical Sunday morning at Fellowship Church, filled with songs, prayers, and the warmth of a congregation gathered together, when everything changed in an instant. Pastor Charles Jenkins, known for his powerful sermons and magnetic presence, suddenly collapsed during the middle of his message, shocking everyone in the sanctuary. At first, a slight tremor in his voice and the tightening of his grip on the pulpit went largely unnoticed, perhaps mistaken for the emotional intensity he always brought to his preaching. But within moments, his strength gave way, and he fell forward, leaving the congregation stunned. Chaos erupted as people shouted, cried, and rushed forward, unsure of how to help, while others instinctively dropped to their knees in prayer. Eyewitnesses later described the scene as surreal, a moment when time seemed to stop and the weight of uncertainty hung over the room. Trained medical personnel among the congregation quickly sprang into action, checking his pulse and assisting him as church staff tried to manage the panic. Immediate response. Within minutes, paramedics arrived with a stretcher, and the vibrant energy of the sanctuary shifted to a quiet, heavy tension. Pastor Jenkins was carefully lifted and carried out, surrounded by his congregation, who followed in tears and whispered prayers. Choir members, once lifted in song, now stood silently, many holding one another for comfort as the weight of the moment settled over them. Outside the church, the streets were filled with the flashing lights of ambulances and emergency vehicles, while congregants gathered, forming prayer circles and holding each other for support. Members spoke in hushed tones, offering encouragement and collectively hoping for good news. Even as the immediate medical emergency took precedence, questions naturally arose. Was this sudden collapse the result of overwork, stress, or an underlying health condition? The uncertainty added to the emotional strain, but the prevailing sentiment was one of concern, hope, and prayer, as the congregation and staff focused on the safety and recovery of their beloved pastor. Inside the hospital. Once admitted to the hospital, Pastor Jenkins was closely monitored in the ICU, with doctors working diligently to stabilize him. Family members stayed by his bedside, providing comfort and support, while church leaders rotated visits to ensure someone was always nearby. His wife remained quietly strong, requesting privacy while encouraging the congregation to continue praying. Updates from the hospital were limited, which fueled both anxiety and anticipation among congregants. Each small sign of improvement, a slight movement, a moment of awareness, was greeted with relief and gratitude. The medical team emphasized that the next 24 hours would be critical, highlighting the delicate balance between hope and caution. Inside the hospital, the atmosphere was intense yet focused, as professionals, family, and church staff collaborated to provide care and reassurance, holding onto every glimmer of progress while awaiting more definitive information about his condition. A community united in prayer. As news of Pastor Jenkins's collapse spread, both within Chicago and beyond, the response from the community was immediate and overwhelming. Members of the church, fellow pastors, gospel artists, and fans across the country shared messages of hope, prayer, and encouragement. Hashtags such as #PrayForJenkins began trending on social media, with thousands posting heartfelt prayers and expressions of solidarity. Public figures and leaders in the gospel community, including well-known pastors and musicians, joined in calls for prayers, reflecting the deep respect and affection held for Jenkins across the nation. Families gathered with candles, singing softly and praying together, holding on to hope that their pastor would recover. Even as news networks began to cover the story, the central focus remained prayer, support, and the expression of love for someone who had dedicated his life to guiding others spiritually. This collective outpouring highlighted the strength of the faith community, demonstrating how shared belief and compassion can offer both comfort and unity in moments of crisis. Reflections on pastoral life. While the immediate concern was Pastor Jenkins's health, the incident also sparked reflection on the often overlooked demands of pastoral leadership. Ministers like Jenkins carry not only the responsibilities of guiding their congregations spiritually, but also the pressures of administration, travel, public appearances, and community leadership. These responsibilities, while meaningful and fulfilling, can accumulate quietly, sometimes affecting physical and emotional well-being. Conversations began emerging within the community about the importance of balance and support for church leaders, recognizing that even the strongest leaders have human limits. Jenkins' collapse became a moment of collective awareness, reminding everyone that compassion for spiritual leaders extends beyond admiration and worship and includes understanding their need for rest, care, and reflection. Behind the scenes, support and concern. Behind closed doors, the leadership of Fellowship Church quickly moved to ensure that all necessary steps were taken to care for both Pastor Jenkins and the congregation. Elders and staff held meetings to coordinate support, discuss temporary leadership arrangements, and ensure continuity in worship services and community programs. Their goal was to provide reassurance to the congregation while managing practical considerations, balancing faith, care, and operational responsibility. Meanwhile, family members maintained a constant presence at the hospital, offering love and encouragement while subtly coordinating updates for the congregation to prevent unnecessary panic. The collaborative effort emphasized not only the importance of medical care, but also the human and emotional support that surrounds a community in crisis. Media and social attention. Social media and news outlets quickly amplified the story as clips and images of the moment circulated online. Public fascination mixed with genuine concern, with thousands expressing support and prayers, while others sought additional details about his health. Despite the attention, church leadership emphasized faith, patience, and compassion, urging followers to focus on positive support rather than speculation. Messages from prominent gospel figures and fellow pastors flooded platforms with encouragement, emphasizing the spiritual and communal bonds that Jenkins had nurtured over years of ministry. Even as the world watched, the focus remained on healing, reflecting the unity and dedication of a faith community rallying behind someone they deeply valued. Lessons for the community. Pastor Jenkins's sudden collapse became more than a medical event. It was an opportunity for reflection on the importance of balance, care, and shared responsibility. Church leaders, congregants, and wider communities began conversations about the pressures faced by spiritual leaders, emphasizing the need for understanding, support systems, and practical measures to prevent burnout. The incident highlighted how leadership, service, and devotion are deeply human endeavors, requiring both resilience and rest. It also underscored the role of community in sustaining leaders, reminding everyone that faith, prayer, and mutual support can coexist with practical measures to ensure well-being. By witnessing the vulnerability of someone they deeply respected, the congregation was reminded of the shared humanity that underpins spiritual guidance and leadership. Reflection on leadership and human limits. The events surrounding Pastor Jenkins' collapse served as a profound reminder that no individual, regardless of strength, faith, or dedication, can carry every responsibility alone. The incident prompted dialogue about sustainable ministry practices, the necessity of rest, and the importance of shared leadership structures within faith communities. It also highlighted the broader spiritual lesson that vulnerability is not weakness, but an opportunity for reflection, growth, and deeper connection. For congregants, staff, and fellow pastors, this moment became an enduring reminder that care for spiritual leaders is integral to the health of the community itself, blending empathy with practical support to ensure long-term sustainability and resilience. A lasting impact. As Pastor Jenkins began the journey of recovery, the story left a lasting impression on both the local church and the wider gospel community. Prayer circles continued, messages of love persisted, and the shared concern created a renewed sense of unity and appreciation for the dedication of spiritual leaders. Conversations about well-being, balance, and community support were no longer theoretical. They became actionable commitments. Beyond the medical recovery, the incident encouraged reflection on the role of faith, compassion, and shared responsibility in sustaining a spiritual community. Pastor Jenkins's experience became a symbol not only of the human limits that even strong leaders face, but also of the extraordinary power of collective care, prayer, and love that surrounds those who dedicate their lives to service. In the weeks and months following, the congregation and the wider faith community carried forward the lessons learned, strengthening bonds, deepening empathy, and embracing a more holistic understanding of leadership, resilience, and shared spiritual responsibility.